Daily Awesome. It is April 26, 2017. We are on our Men's Development Excellence call. These guys have got me laughing. It's 12:18. So it's actually April 27th Austin time, and there's 11 guys on this call. We are in our fifth hour of the call. And that's just goes to show you how badass this stuff is. And we're talking about the lost value of honesty. Honesty, who the fuck wants that? Why would you want to be honest when you could bypass that and get what you fucking want? Right? And we see that as a value in the world today, but it's something that just totally sidetracks us, shit cans us, fucks us in every single way. And yet we don't really have outlets or ways to learn how to be ourselves, be honest, show who we are. Even though it sounds really cool to say authenticity and integrity are great. Oh man, don't get me started. But this is the Daily Awesome. The Daily Awesome is a men's development podcast, and every day we put out content. It's really good stuff. It's part of the 3 podcasts that we do every day. That's right. We put out a lot of stuff. So if you wanted to plug in to being a better man, the Daily Awesome's there, a nice well-rounded thing of what we produce. And it's basically to show you, hey, what we do on our calls, man. We have these amazing, we're the only people in the world that do this, where we have a live running men's group pretty much every day of the week. You're coming on Wednesday, you got 5 hours, man. You're coming on Thursday, you got our sex and relationships call. We even have a mastermind call that day. You also come in on Saturday, we can talk about social dynamics, and we do it all day long. We're giving webinars, we're doing accountability calls. We have calls that just run. We have a Sunday all day call that goes sometimes 24 hours, but usually more like 15, 18 hours. And you might be thinking, man, that just sounds like forever. No, it's so that you can come in and go as you please. That's what we do with the Men's Development Excellence. You should look into it on the links below. You can subscribe to all the different podcasts that we have, which there's 3 of them. One's on a Facebook feed. The other one's the TSL podcast on sex and dating. And then there's this one on men's development. So be a part of it because we're doing it. Fuck yeah, man. That's fucking badass. In any case, let's get to this. The value of honesty. We were talking about social dynamics, and we were talking about actually a breakdown of somebody on the message board of what they say. And they say, man, I went up to this girl and I talked to her and I said this, and she didn't seem like she was invested. Or she didn't seem like she was into it. Or I kept getting resistance in these ways. Or I just wasn't into it. And one of the guys on the call, he actually goes, man, I never think that. I never fucking think that. I never think that. And this seems to be a reoccurring thing that happens when we're developing ourselves and working on ourselves in a healthy way. And then we start to hear what the norm of society says. And we stop thinking in that way. And part of the reason why is let's say I'm talking to somebody and I'm getting a bad vibe. Or let's say I'm talking to somebody and it's not going right. Let's say I'm in a job interview and I get the sense that it's not going well, or that they're not reading me or feeling me in the right way. Let's say I'm going to, buy something. Or actually I posted up a video today about a guy who works at Starbucks who wants to work some social dynamics there and not get fired, right? So how do we do it? And some hater, asshole, motherfucker, and man, fuck you to all these guys. It's just great. I love it. You sat there and you watched the video that long just to post this, but it was like, I was basically telling people to say, ask them how their day's going, man. Find out about it. Ask them about themselves when you're making the coffee and whatever, and in their personal lives, and get to know it. And you only got a split second. So you're going to say, tomorrow, I want to find out the rest of the story and blah, 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 blah. But build those connections, because connection is great. This hater motherfucker is like, let's get back to reality, man. Nobody cares about your day. Even you. Fuck you, motherfucker. Dude, that's all I want. I want that. And see, the thing is that when we get to it, when we hit a point where we are not getting what we want in whatever it is, think about it. What today did you want and you didn't get? We start going, how can I get that without being me? We start going, how can I get the result that I was going for with something that's going to work? And see, the problem with this is, we value so much success. We value so much result. But the problem with that is we will never be fulfilled. We will never be happy. And how many times in your life are you going to have to prove to yourself? And I know you might be thinking right now, man, if I had $20,000 right now, if I had $30,000 right now, if I had a Porsche, if I had all these things that I want, I'd be pretty happy. Man, please go out and earn those things. And don't get me wrong, man. You can have money, you can have things, you can have all that you want and be happy. And if we're going to be unhappy, it's probably better to have the things that we want. But God, if we think being a human being, if we think this purpose that we're always chasing, this expression that we're always chasing, this self-worth that we're always chasing is going to be defined if you think your happiness, your pleasure, your sense of self, your latitude of expression is going to be defined by just getting that thing you want, man, you are far off the mark, my friend. You're fucking full of shit. It ain't gonna work that way. And so why would you compromise yourself just to get what you want? Just to let the pressure out of the balloon. Just to take your foot off the gas because you can't handle it. And see, when we have our social situations like this, when we have our interactions and they're not going our way, and then we start going like, man, they're not into it. Okay, what can I do to get them back into it? Fuck, here's what you do. You say, man, I'm sorry. I was just talking to you and it doesn't seem you're that into it. But, hey, I just value personal connection. Or let's say this is one of the other things that got brought up to me. He was saying he was drilling some social dynamics exercises. But like many people, we do social dynamics. This is more of that TSL stuff. We do social dynamics. A set path of looking at how human beings interact and some very probable, favorable things, and then we fit and plug and customize ourselves into it. But a lot of times people do it and they think the technique is the thing. No, the technique is the shoehorn. You are the foot and they are the shoe. We are trying to move you into a connection. And maybe you've been doing it wrong. You probably have been doing it wrong because nobody teaches you this stuff. But the social dynamic is a minor tool in this whole thing. It is terrible that we then start favoring the technique over our expression. Our techniques are dependent upon the expression. Just think about showing up for a job. Man, and you weren't like, hey, the machines took over. You're no longer a checker at this store. A robot can do your work. At the factory, a robot can do your work. Or this person who isn't a member of our country or whatever is doing your work. I'm not meaning to be political here or anything like that. But it's just like that. This pisses us off. When something is taken away from our pride and our joy and our self and our sense of putting things into it with something that is so much less than what we put into it. That is terrible. Why would you do that ever with your expression? See, the key is we have to go for what works, and that takes hard work. We have to go for what means winning, not just the notoriety of winning, and that takes hard work. That takes loss. That takes failure, but it takes you. And so many people are unwilling to be you, and that's why we have this lost value of honesty. But what I say with all things, I bring this up a lot as a little catchphrase of my own to remember myself. But Jesus, man. All the greatest things that I value in my life, my thoughts, my decisions, even my health. So my body, my physical body, but my moral choices and all these different things, I had to lose. I did not care about them. Lose them, work for them back to get to know them. A man with zero life experience, you ask him what honesty means, and he'll say it's great. And he says authenticity is great. And he says integrity is great. And then we get into the shitstorm of internet marketing, whatever, and they say all this stuff. And you have no life experience. You say those things are great. You know what honesty means to somebody with zero life experience? Is they say, man, goddamn, I'm honest. But as soon as his dick is hard and it's not his girlfriend or his wife, man, we can do that. As soon as he has $100 in his hands that isn't his, but nobody's not looking, I'm putting that in my pocket. And see, we will all do those things. This doesn't make us a bad person, but it makes it so that if we are to value these things that we talk about, or maybe we don't value them, we have to know what it's like to lose them. We have to know what it's like to not be on that and suffer the consequences of that, rather than just say these things that look cool and sound cool and have a following of people that really don't know who we are or understand what we are. Man, that's a horrible way to live. And one of the best ways to live is no matter where you are, who you are, standing on your own 2 feet, you can make do with yourself. But that's not something that's given to you. That's not something that is freely, handed to you and babied and pat on the back, and you can't just make a decision to do it. That's something that you got to earn. And that's something that you got to live. And it's a lifelong commitment. And lifelong decisions take a lifetime to make. I'm out.